Welcome back to the Modern Gentleman channel. In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of men's rings, which piece works best on each finger, the symbolic meaning behind each choice, a bit of the fascinating history behind this accessory, and the unwritten etiquette rules for anyone looking to wear more than one ring at a time. Throughout the decades, women have never really stopped wearing rings on a regular basis, but among men, this accessory fell out of favor for quite a while. Many considered it too flashy or simply outdated. Fortunately, over the past several years, rings have made a strong comeback in men's fashion, and more guys are embracing them as a genuine style statement. If you enjoy content about men's style, grooming, and behavior, take a moment to subscribe to the Modern Gentleman channel and hit the notification bell, that way you'll never miss a new video. And while you're at it, drop a comment letting us know which city you're watching this video from. I always love seeing how far this content travels and connecting with viewers from all over the world. It's not always obvious what kind of message you're sending when you choose to wear a ring on your thumb instead of your index finger, or on your pinky instead of your ring finger, and that subtle, often overlooked language of accessories is exactly why this topic is so close to my heart. My own interest in men's rings actually started quite unexpectedly, on a trip through Europe. I was browsing a small street market when I came across a simple silver ring set with a green stone, priced very affordably. Something about the craftsmanship and the color caught my eye immediately, so I decided to buy it right there on the spot. Looking back, that one small, inexpensive purchase ended up sparking a genuine passion for rings that has stayed with me ever since. So, without further ado, let's break down what each finger actually represents when it comes to wearing rings. The ring finger. Let's start with the most iconic one, the ring finger. Long before medical science understood how the circulatory system truly works, people believed that a special vein ran directly from this finger straight to the heart. This romantic, if inaccurate, belief gave rise to the term vein of love, and it's precisely why this finger became the traditional, almost sacred, place to wear a wedding ring. Interestingly enough, the widespread custom of wearing a wedding band on the ring finger didn't fully take hold until the middle of the 20th century. During the major military conflicts of the early 1900s, many soldiers began carrying or wearing a ring as a tangible reminder of the loved ones waiting for them back home. As manufacturing improved and rings became more affordable for the average person, the tradition spread rapidly across different social classes. Today, in many cultures, a married man who chooses not to wear a wedding ring may even raise a few eyebrows or spark quiet suspicion in certain social settings. Wedding rings are recognized almost universally as a symbol of marital commitment, but their design tends to stay fairly understated and simple. More elaborate, decorative rings are typically reserved for women's engagement rings, a tradition that, notably, doesn't really have a male equivalent in most Western cultures. As for which hand is correct for the wedding ring, the answer depends heavily on where you're from. In countries with strong British and American cultural influence, along with several other parts of Europe, the ring traditionally goes on the left hand. Meanwhile, in many Eastern and Southern European countries, as well as across large parts of Latin America, the custom leans toward the right hand instead. Some European traditions even have couples switch the ring from one hand to the other depending on their relationship status, worn on the left during the engagement period, then move to the right once the marriage is official. That said, many of these rigid customs have relaxed considerably over the last few decades, with more people simply choosing whichever hand feels right to them. For those who aren't married, the ring finger still has plenty of styling options. Think bold gemstone rings, minimalist bands, or even signet-style pieces, though the signet ring itself actually has a more traditional and historically significant home on a different finger entirely, which we'll get to shortly. The pinky finger. Next up is the pinky finger, a spot with a surprisingly rich and layered history in men's fashion. The word itself traces back to Old Nordic and Germanic roots tied to the idea of something small or slender. Despite its diminutive size, this finger has carried serious symbolic weight for centuries. During the Victorian era, it was fairly common for aristocrats and noblemen to wear their wedding band on the pinky, often stacked together with an elegant signet ring on the very same finger, a look that signaled both marital status and family lineage in one compact gesture. In the United States, however, the pinky ring picked up a very different reputation at certain points in the 20th century, becoming closely associated with organized crime and underworld figures, an image heavily reinforced by classic gangster films. Thankfully, that stigma has faded almost entirely in modern times. Today, the pinky ring is worn confidently by men across every walk of life, from business professionals to artists. In certain fields, like engineering, there's even a long-standing tradition of wearing specific class or achievement rings on this exact finger. And of course, the pinky remains the classic, time-honored home for the signet ring, a style favored for generations by public figures, aristocrats, and members of royal families around the world. The middle finger. Moving on to the middle finger, sometimes referred to as the center or tall finger. It's probably the least popular choice among men when it comes to rings, and there's an obvious reason why. The crude gesture so strongly associated with this finger makes many people hesitant to draw attention to it. But beyond the cultural baggage, there's also a very practical issue at play. A ring positioned right in the center of the hand tends to interfere with everyday movement and can feel awkward or bulky during normal activities. Symbolically, though, a ring worn here is often linked to ideas of balance, stability, and personal responsibility. It's undeniably an unconventional and attention-grabbing choice, and one that only the boldest dressers tend to pull off with confidence. The index finger. The index finger, sometimes playfully nicknamed the trigger finger or pointer finger, is the second most dominant finger on the hand, right behind the thumb. Because of that natural dominance, it carries strong associations with power, authority, and leadership, arguably even more so than the middle finger. If your goal is to have your ring genuinely noticed, the index finger is often the smartest choice. It's worth mentioning that, for many men, this finger tends to be noticeably thicker than the ring or pinky finger, which usually calls for a slightly larger ring to keep the overall proportions looking balanced and intentional. If you look back at historical portraits of kings, statesmen, and other powerful figures, you'll notice the index finger was frequently the chosen spot for their most prominent, eye-catching rings. The thumb. Finally, we arrive at the thumb, arguably the most functional and frequently used digit on the entire hand. It's typically associated with softer, friendlier gestures, like a simple thumbs up, rather than the more assertive energy of pointing with the index finger. Because the thumb plays such a crucial role in nearly every type of grip, wearing a ring there can genuinely restrict hand movement and feel clumsy during daily tasks. Ironically, it's probably this very impracticality that gave the thumb ring its symbolic association with wealth, leisure, and influence, the underlying message being that the wearer doesn't need to engage in manual labor. Of all the finger choices, this is easily the boldest and most fashion-forward option, usually reserved for those who want to make a strong, confident style statement rather than a purely practical one. How to wear multiple rings. Now that we've covered the symbolism behind each individual finger, let's tackle a slightly trickier question: is it acceptable to wear several rings at the same time, and if so, how do you pull it off without looking cluttered or mismatched? The truth is, there's no universal rule dictating exactly how many rings a man should wear. It really comes down to personal taste, lifestyle, and confidence. Some men are perfectly happy sticking to just one or two carefully chosen pieces, while others enjoy building out a more elaborate, layered look with several rings spread across both hands. A balanced, versatile approach that works well for many is keeping the wedding band on one hand and pairing it with a complementary second ring on the other, often placed on the ring finger or pinky for a clean, cohesive look. Throughout history, certain style icons have leaned fully into a more maximalist approach, confidently stacking multiple rings across several fingers to create bold, unmistakably personal looks. This kind of statement-making style tends to work best for those with an inherently expressive, eccentric approach to fashion, rather than a more understated everyday wardrobe. It's also worth addressing a common misconception head-on: wearing rings is not, in any way, effeminate. While it's true that women have worn rings extensively throughout history, men have an equally long and rich tradition with this accessory, from religious leaders and monarchs to military commanders and statesmen. Rings have deep, unmistakably masculine roots that stretch back centuries across nearly every culture on Earth. At the end of the day, the most important guideline is simply choosing what genuinely fits your lifestyle and daily routine. Certain professions that demand constant, hands-on manual work, for example, can make wearing rings on a regular basis far less practical, regardless of personal preference. When it comes to mixing metals, the general styling advice leans toward maintaining some visual harmony. Try to keep your gold, silver, and rose gold tones reasonably consistent across the rings, cufflinks, and other accessories you're wearing. That said, this is more of a helpful guideline than a strict rule, and it certainly shouldn't stop you from wearing pieces you genuinely love, even if the metals don't perfectly match. As for placement, the safest and most traditional way to combine multiple rings is to stack them together on the same finger, most commonly the pinky. Wearing rings on two adjacent fingers is generally less popular, mainly because the metals constantly touching and clinking together can feel distracting or uncomfortable. A classic, foolproof approach that works well for most men is to keep a single standout piece on the ring finger and, if you'd like to add more, either distribute additional rings across your other hand or stack them thoughtfully on the pinky finger instead. Ultimately, how you choose to wear your rings is entirely up to you. There's no single, correct, formula, just personal preference guided by comfort and style. I'd genuinely love to know, how do you like to wear your rings? Do you keep it simple with just one piece, or do you enjoy experimenting with multiple rings and metals at once? Let me know in the comments below. I want to sincerely thank you for sticking with me through this entire video. I really hope it gave you a clearer, more confident understanding of the world of men's rings, from the history and symbolism behind each finger to practical tips for combining multiple pieces the right way. If you found this content valuable, please take a moment to like the video, share it with a friend who might enjoy it, and most importantly, subscribe to the Modern Gentleman channel so you never miss a new video on men's style, grooming, and everyday elegance. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.